going to do what market's going to do.
Yeah. Hey, we're live. All right. Welcome to Win the Day live stream Friday version. We always like the Friday versions. Now, this is interesting. I look outside and it is sunny and beautiful, but it's cold. And I don't mean beach cold where it's like 72. I mean, it's 37, 47. It's weird. Yeah, crazy. So at any rate, today we're going to talk about how to win the game of real estate. And we're going to talk about pedal to the metal. We were just talking about it. Here's the deal. Do you have cruise control in your car? Right. And I was telling these people, I drive a Jeep. I got to roll down the windows if I want. That's cruise control. But my wife does, and we'll be on a road trip or whatever, and I'll set the speed for whatever, 9 miles over the posted speed limit. Because I heard somewhere if you do 10, you get pulled over. If you do 9, you're fine. We'll see. But anyway, that's my urban legend. So I said it, if it's 75, I'm doing 84 or whatever the math is, right? And I set the cruise. And you go, and inevitably, I'm going to come up on some slower moving vehicle, and I won't be paying attention. And time will go by, and I'll look, and I'm not doing 84 anymore. I'm doing 67. I'll be like, what on earth happened here? I'm on cruise control. Why aren't I cruising? And sure enough, it's set to automatically slow down if you get too close to the vehicle, and you can do all kinds of changes and whatever to monitor how close, how far it kicks in. I'm like, yeah, how about this? And I turn it off and I put the pedal to the freaking metal, and around the car we go, and we're racing down the highway again. Okay. So the analogy is this: our team was rolling. We were taking listings. We weren't doing price reductions because the market didn't call for it, but we were taking listings. We were putting properties under contract. We were negotiating deals, and we were closing deals. We were collecting checks. And then one day we woke up, we weren't taking listings, we weren't negotiating deals, and we weren't getting checks. We were on cruise control. And it wasn't a conscious thing like, hey, hit the cruise and we'll be fine. It was one of those things we just kind of found ourselves slowing down with the market, going behind the slow car, right? And somehow, some way, I woke up out of my stupor, and I think the way it was my checkbook started to scream in pain. What are you doing? And so we had a meeting. We had a meeting of the minds, and it was like, people, wake up. We're on cruise. We got to get back to work. And the accountability went to the moon. I'm on them. Morning, mid-morning, lunch, mid-afternoon, evenings, every day, right? Hitting them. And we've been talking about this. And I think I looked, we're at 24 or 26 listings taken over the last 7 weeks. That's pretty good. And we're at 13 pending right now, with I think 12 closing in March. And we expect a couple more to hit this weekend. So that's good. We're at, I think, 6 million for March. We'll probably get to $7 or $8 million in sales for March, which is good. It's not, we weren't back fully, but it's certainly a lot better than we've been doing. And my point is this: the market hasn't changed. We changed. I changed. They changed, right? We've upped our game. We show up. We're getting our contacts. We're getting price reductions. We're getting listings. We're negotiating deals, and we're about to start getting paychecks again. And I find that super exciting. And I guess the moral of the story is, wake up, pay attention. Did you somehow hit the cruise control on purpose or even accidentally on your career? If that's what's going on, or whatever you're doing, maybe it's accidentally, maybe it's on purpose. Are you paying attention? Did you get behind that slow moving vehicle, which we call a market right now? If all that is, just turn off the cruise, put the pedal to the metal. What does that look like? What does that look like? Well, here's what it looks like. Turn the intensity up, turn it up, get your contacts in, have good conversations, practice your scripts, get price reductions, do all those things. Negotiate deals. Don't just let them happen. Negotiate them. Pull them together. Get over here. We're still talking. Where are you going? Type of thing, right? You fight for your deals. Because if you do that, it works. And most people can't, won't, or whatever, choose not to, which will really help you take market share. And I think, Julie, you were talking about, you ran into this a year ago, maybe. Does that sound right?
I ran into it a year ago because I had, I don't know that it was necessarily the market. Yeah, the market was shifting, but I was over leveraged. And so
Let me ask you though, did it sneak up on you? You didn't see it coming, did you? Or did you just wake up one day going, I got too much and not enough?
Well, you know what? I think you kind of see stuff coming. It doesn't, some of it sneaks, but the reality is not really. And here's where sometimes, especially when you get comfortable, and I would just advise people, don't get comfortable. If you have a budget in place, you're going to notice things faster. So for
100%.
example, like if you know that, my monthly budget is 5, okay? And all of a sudden your expenses are 6, 7, 8. Don't wait until you're 100 miles an hour heading for the cliff. And even with you slamming on the brakes, you're going to fly out. You're going to just fall off the cliff.
Momentum.
Stick to the budget. But that's just an analogy to.
So you're saying first thing is make sure you have a budget and you're watching your budget?
Yeah, because if you are watching your budget and you start to see that's where you're going to see it first, right?
You're just sleep is quick or long.
Yeah, you're talking about, you're cruising along, your team is cruising along, you guys are doing X amount, and all of a sudden your checkbook started screaming at you.
Yep.
And I'm going to say your checkbook started screaming at you. It had been happening for several months, but you were
100%.
But you were comfortable because you're like.
And then you know what I did? Yeah, but the market's slow. It'll come back. It won't be long.
But
started building these mental bridges to nowhere.
And I did the same thing. And here's what I would say to everybody: have a cap, a governor. You've heard
that's
of
the budget again.
To come back to the cruise control analogy.
Check the cruise.
You have a governor. Have you ever driven a car with a governor? Have you ever driven a rental truck and you have a completely floored, and you have it completely floored and it won't go over 62? Yeah. Okay. Put a governor on your business. Okay. That's your budget for your business, separate from your house, but you should have one for your house too. If you go over on your house or your business, you need to look around and go, what's happening? Mm-hmm. What has changed? Have I changed or has something else changed? And you adjust before you fly off the cliff. Mm-hmm. So what happened to me was my expenses had gotten too high. And then a couple of things didn't fall into place back to back to back. And all of a sudden I was losing money a lot. I was bleeding. It's like my arm had been cut off. And I'm like, ooh. And I didn't stop the bleeding right away because the bleeding would have required me letting go of staff members. And I didn't want to do that because I thought, well, it'll correct. And it kept getting worse. So what ended up happening is I ended up letting go of everybody. And
with less money in your checking account at the time.
And that, yep. And, I was spending all my time mentoring and taking care of them. And they started to see things changing. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, I'm just spewing blood, right? I'm not just bleeding. And it's like, okay, this needs to end. So then when it all came back to me and I'm like, okay, now I'm in crisis survival mode. And that's when all my actions changed. You got to look at what's going on. Here's the thing. Coming back to if you've got cruise control and you come up on some vehicles in front of you and your vehicle automatically slows down. What's happening is you're the realtor who was cruising along, running past everybody, and you got into a crowd of runners and got comfortable. Well, when you're running with the crowd, you become average. And what's average? Average is mediocre. No one succeeds by being mediocre. So you got to decide, no, I'm not going to be average. I'm not going to be mediocre. I'm not really going to use cruise control ever. I am going to be aware of my surroundings. I'm going to have that governor. And as soon as I'm over that line, you got to look around. What do I cut or what do I do more of?
Cool. Jesse, you're a single agent. You don't have to cut anybody, but you are your own cuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So mine is more on the personal end. We've talked about it before. And I'm thinking as Julie's talking, okay, Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, all of those things, got to start cutting them. They're doing price increases as we speak. And so it's like, okay, I've got to start letting go of some of those things so that I can manage the business better, because that's what's going to eventually fund those things again. I like what you said about not using cruise control. I never use cruise control. I'm too controlling and don't want the vehicle having more control than it needs to. And so I think it's so important. You know, I was always taught
These self-driving cars are going to drive you nuts.
yeah. But it's don't let off the gas, and we get comfortable, and we've got a couple closings under our belt, and so it's like, okay, I can let off the gas a little bit. But then when you do that, you don't realize you're creating that gap for the next 90 days of not getting paid. And that's what I have been guilty of. So it's so important to not let off the gas and keep going, even if you have those deals coming in, because then you go through the dry season of Christmas, New Year's, and in the wintertime.
Yep. So I was thinking about it, right? Once I figured out that we were in cruise and that the market slowed us down, it wasn't us. Well, it was us letting it slow us down. We had a meeting. People were turning off cruise control, squeeze your wheels and put the pedal to the metal, right? Squeeze that steering wheel because we're about to start driving.
Here's the thing with real estate. No matter what market. So I got licensed in 1996. I know I'm old, but here's the thing. Here's what I will tell you. It goes up and down. It goes in cycles, but people never, ever completely stop buying homes, ever.
Even investment properties, what I do. We're still selling investment properties.
Yep. Yeah. The smart investors know, you swim when you're with the crowd, you're going to go off the cliff as lemmings, right? Yep. So you don't do what everyone else is doing. You swim upstream. And
There's
John Martellotti, I want to say, John Martellotti says, every time when money was tight and I depended on a deal, it fell through. Murphy's Law. True. And here's the thing. When you're depending on a deal, you're more attuned to it. So you can't have commission breath. I need this. You can't be wanting it more than the client, but you can put guardrails in place to make sure everything is on time. I had a deal that closed yesterday, and if I hadn't been vigilant, it would not have closed yesterday. It may have closed.
Fight for your deals.
Yeah. And it was I'm the listing agent, and the buyer's agent was not paying attention. And here in Arizona, we have a cure notice. Do you guys have a cure notice or a cure when someone's about to breach or has breached? What do you guys?
In the contract?
Yeah.
No.
So this came into our contract, I don't know, 2005, 6, 7, 8.
Like a warning, beep, 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 you're about to do something?
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're cruising up on someone. So what happens if someone's in potential breach of some term of the contract, you issue a notice to the agent, and they have to let the buyer or seller know, because sometimes otherwise deals can go off the cliff and the buyer or seller don't know because their agent did something wrong and doesn't want to tell them. So when someone's about to go off the cliff, the other side can issue a cure notice. It's kind of like throwing a penalty flag, and they have 3 days to correct it, or they lose the ball, right? So what was happening is most agents don't use it. I use it all the time. And
I'd be out of flags. We haven't even started. Well, there's another flag.
Well, this guy was not doing what he needed to do. So I kept issuing cure notices and then reaching out to the lender. And he was like, I've been cool. You keep issuing me these cure notices. I'm like, I don't care about your coolness, dude. If your client's in breach, I got to protect my client.
100%.
And on Tuesday, they were supposed to have their docs signed last Friday. They still didn't. I get a hold of the lender. They haven't even gotten to conditional approval. Okay, so you need conditional, then you need final, then you need to issue the CD, and then 3 days from then they can issue docs, and then they can sign and fund. I'm like, all right, that's all I need to know. I call the agent and I said, look, their earnest money was $16,300. Supposed to close yesterday, Thursday. I said, one way or another, the seller's going to have $16,300 in his pocket on Friday, whether you close or not. You decide. Guess what? They got a hard money loan and they closed yesterday. Screaming and kicking. We dragged him across the finish line.
But you got a deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? If it's not meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. Bull crap. If they sign something, you sign it, it's meant to be.
If there's going to be a breach or a fail, someone's going to pay. You're going to lose your earnest money. That's what it's for. And once he realized that that was a reality, he made it happen.
Love it. Love it.
So you got to fight for your deals. But
Destiny, say more. You got any more on that?
No, I was going to comment on what John said too, because I've been in that position. You know, when I'm working a deal, I have to make that thing close. My life is dependent on that deal closing. So then what I find myself is I'm giving way too much attention to that transaction, and I'm not doing my lead gen like I need to be. I'm putting out fires, and I'm staying on top of everybody and doing everybody else's job. And so I think it's important to put.
That's a delicate dance, though. Sometimes you have to do it.
Sometimes you do have to do it, but I'm taking away from getting new business.
True.
Just this one transaction. So how beautiful would it be to have 5 transactions that are about to close because I've worked hard to keep my business flowing continuously. So
I was talking to a guy. This is kind of in that line. He was telling me about a conversation he had with somebody in their business, and the person was telling this guy who was talking to me that their business is better than it's ever been. And he's like, well, how can that be? You're not even growing. And the explanation was, well, so here's why it's better. Every year I get rid of the bottom 10%, my hard to deal with people, the nightmares, the ones that are not very profitable or whatever, and I replace them with those that are. So while I still have the same number of people or business or whatever, the ones I have are way, way better. And that's kind of the same thing here. I had a coach told me every year, get rid of your bottom 10 people, your bottom 10 listings, your bottom 10 everything.
Yeah.
And that gives you room to put in better. And you get better without having to increase everything.
And that the point is, it buys you back valuable time.
100%.
Because to Destiny's point, when you're spending all your time dragging this deal across the finish,
sometimes you have to. It sucks. It's taking the bad listing. Like yesterday, we talked about Destiny. But sometimes you got what you got. You're dancing with your partner. This is what it is.
Sometimes you got to get to the finish line. But sometimes when you can see there's no finish line in sight, or you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, or maybe you see the light at the end of the tunnel, but then the tunnel collapses.
Yeah.
You got to cut the fat, because what it does is it gives you back the time to do the things that you need to do. Like you said, your lead gen. So it is a delicate dance. Yes, sometimes you have to drag them across the finish line, kicking and screaming. But when you're not that close to the finish line, cut them.
Yep. So here's the deal. If you find yourself not where you want to be, check your cruise. Make sure you're not cruising. Sometimes it sneaks up on you. Check it and turn it off. Grip that steering wheel and punch it. Punch the pedal to the metal. And here's what that looks like. I just wrote them down right here as they came to my mind. Lead gen, 100% all in, on purpose lead gen. Lead follow-up, same thing. Follow-up. Appointments, price reductions, showings, negotiation, and closings. You just got to spend your whole everything in those 7 things. And give yourself a little bit of time. Probably need 6-8 weeks, and it'll start to show up. All right. Outside of that, you can always cross your fingers and hope. Good luck.
Yeah. That's what the average, that's what the crowd, that's what the mediocrity is. That's not you.
Yeah. And I've noticed even changing some of my habits. You know, I have a routine that I like to stick to, but, you know, getting in the other lane was for me, let me try a different location, you know, so doing open houses out on Navarre Beach right now has been great for me because that's where all the snowbirds are.
There you go.
So, you know, they're walking their dogs. I get to have conversations before I even start the open house. And so it's getting in another lane sometimes. And
are you like that lady on those Progressive insurance commercials? You're everywhere.
I am.
You're starting to creep me out a little bit.
No, because they laugh.
It's
funny because it's windy and cold out there right now, but they don't think it's windy and cold. And so they're laughing at me, struggling with my signs and my flags, but it starts a conversation. So.
Totally.
Well, and I want to bring something up. We talked about, so next Wednesday, Workshop Wednesday, we're going to be talking about how to price a listing, how to get price reductions scripts, how to do the numbers when it comes to, you know, how do you decide what numbers? How do you talk to your client about it? So for people who are struggling, because it's a different market than when you put a price tag on a property and you got multiple offers. You have to strategize on how to price it now, and you have to strategize with having conversations with your sellers for price reductions. You also have to know what the market is to negotiate well for your buyers. So That is something that went out the window when we were in this seller's market for 7, 8 years, and no one needed to have that skill. But we're back to a professionals market. So next Wednesday, we're going to talk about pricing.
Let me show you guys something fun. Yesterday, we were at the beach. This is a picture. It's cold. You guys can't tell, but it looks beautiful, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's cold. Nobody's at the beach. Hold on. When I say nobody, let me zoom in here. What? Look at me hanging at the beach on my Chase loungers. You guys don't know, but it's probably 45 degrees at the 90-mile-an-hour wind. They're fully dressed, hanging at the beach, because that's what you do. Hey, I came here from Nebraska, Wisconsin, wherever. I'm going to the beach.
Yeah.
That would have been me in college. Remember those days, Julie? With the
Yeah, I remember
getting a tan.
The sun was barely out. It was March, but it's a sunny day, and we would get tin foil under our arms and legs.
It's so stupid. Yes. How did we ever get married? How did we ever find anybody that would marry us?
Asphalt shingle roof with tin foil all around, just laying there.
Freezing. Oh, God. All right. Anyway, different conversation. Destiny, do you have any last words?
I would just say, don't let off the gas. Keep your business flowing.
Yep. Right on. Julie, last words?
Same thing. Don't be mediocre. You're not like the crowd. You've got to just, everybody, there's people buying in all markets. So just don't do what the crowd's doing.
100%. All right. So good. If you're struggling a little bit, just make sure you're not on cruise. All right. Turn off that cruise, grip the wheel, and punch it. Give it everything you got. If you're getting 5 contacts a day, get 20. If you're getting 20, give 50. Whatever. Just up everything. That sucks. Yeah, it does suck. There's no question about it.
Succeeding. Look around you. Someone's succeeding.
Step out.
That's me.
You'll do fine. Here's the other thing. It's Friday. All right. It's Friday, which means I want you all to go to your leads. What leads do you have? If it's 1, if it's 50. If it's 50, you're doing something wrong. Or maybe I don't know. But call them. Right? If you're a seller, hey, at one point you were thinking of selling. Is that still the case? What's the next step? Easy. Buying. Hey, at one point you were looking at buying a place. Is that still the case? What's the next step? Boom. You'll get something. I promise. They'll tell you get lost. I changed my mind. Or they'll say your timing's perfect. I'm ready to go. They'll do something. All right. And then by the end of the day, you're going to feel like you did something, and you did. And you're going to have confidence that the future's bright, and it is. And you're going to go home and you're going to feel good about what you did, and you should. And you'll also be excited about what's going to happen next week. And again, you should be, because that's the way this should be if it works. So there you go. Let's do it. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.